What's up, everybody? Welcome to the next episode of Devin the Bear, this current episode of Devin the Bear, where we will mostly just be talking about current events. Before we get started, make sure to follow us on YouTube. Just go ahead and subscribe, please. And then follow us on Instagram at Devin the Bear. Let us know your thoughts on these fights lately. Let us know what you think about these episodes, what you want from us. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. And we'll start with probably one of the more recent things, Kevin Holland's retirement. It reminds me a lot of when Calvin Johnson retired from the Detroit Lions, and it was just kind of seemed out of left field and very early, and like he had just started to get going, and then he retired.
He had some really good momentum starting off with the welterweight division. Like once he dropped down, he also had it in the middleweight division though. Like he got relatively close to the title. I mean, he took 5 fights in 2020. Came in 2021 with a lot of hype, suffered a couple losses, but he went back to the drawing board and he sharpened some tools up, But like even in the welterweight division, he dropped down and he's fighting. Cowboy Oliveira gets a win. He fights Tim Means, he gets a win, and so it's like okay, like he's looking good. He's doing all right. He's getting his reps in, even though like those two guys are known as journeymen, I guess, in a non-disrespectful way because I like both those fighters a lot, but it's all about just finding your home in that weight class, and that's what he was doing. Then he set to fight Daniel Rodriguez. Obviously, y'all know the story. He gets messed up. He ends up fighting Hazmat. He got paid a good amount to take on the Hazmat fight, and then, it's 30 years old. Pretty much puts up Instagram stories like, "Hey man, like I'm about to turn 30. I've made some good ass money. I'm just gonna call it a career." And there's some rumors circulating around it though. I remember we talked about it just a little bit. Apparently, after Daniel Rodriguez beat Ji Ling Liang, something like that. Yep, Li Jing Liang. Fucking dude. So after that, sorry, we've been drinking Guinness tonight, and I'm having a great time. Daniel Rodriguez gets the win, and they're talking about him fighting Neil Magny next, and Kevin Holland was pretty upset with it because rightfully so. This is all rumor. This is just speculation, and what people are discussing is just he's upset because he's been calling for that fight and he doesn't get that fight. And then after that, you're giving it to the guy that he is supposed to fight who comes off of a win. Whenever he's part of the reason like that card got saved was because he was willing to fight.
Yeah, nobody else is gonna step up to fight Hamzat.
And so he steps up, he fights him, and he loses. And it is what it is. Hazmat is on a absolute tear right now. I mean, you can't even it's getting to the point where you can't even deny him the title shot for what he's doing to some of these guys. And so, I mean, with him retiring though, like, yeah, it sucks a lot if he decides to stay retired. I mean, good for him, good for his health, But I'm also like with him retiring at the same time though, because I feel like a lot of people don't do that. They don't retire in the prime of their life. They don't retire when they have a good amount of money in their account,
If he can afford it, I'm all for it. Yeah. It's cool. You want to see him go out, not just like on top or anything like that, but you want to see him go out happy. And if he's happy, go for it.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with it at all. Of course, we like to see him, challenge for the title eventually.
The what ifs will always exist if he doesn't come back.
But it's also like what's hard about that though is like even though he worked on his ground game, is still, I know Hazmat's a whole different animal. But what's hard, so you really can't say like what if, like you said, but what's hard about that though is like with the what ifs is there's a lot of wrestlers at 170.
I was about to say he's gonna end up having to fight Gilbert Burns, Colby Covington. I blanked on his name.
Muhammad, Sean Brady's in there.
There's a lot of stuff to have to deal with in that division.
But he was a big welterweight, but he made the weight pretty easy, and so But either way, though, like I'm with whatever he's doing. If it's in his best interest of life, then why not just go ahead and just decide, you know what? Let me just go ahead and take a step back and just do what I want to do. So, but speaking of retirements, though, Jose Aldo actually retired this past week.
One of the goats to some.
I mean, there's a lot of people talking about him and Anderson. I mean, not Anderson. Him and Khabib. A lot of people are comparing that, because a lot of people are saying Khabib's the GOAT. I personally don't give him the title of greatest of all time, but I can see why people have Jose Aldo ahead of him, though.
I don't have any of them as greatest
Yeah,
of all
like
time, but is having Aldo ahead of Khabib?
yeah,
Yeah, sure. I think I'm with that. Aldo just did it for so much
yeah.
longer than Khabib did, and he was still competing at the top
Yeah.
nonstop. Khabib competed at the top for I don't know 5 years maybe.
4. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I was
yeah, I
giving him a little bit
noticed.
of
Yeah,
credit. So I don't know. That's hard to
yeah,
say. I wouldn't. It's just like the numbers don't lie.
yeah.
29-0 is
It's
hard
hard to
to
it's hard to beat. Yeah,
dispute, but when you break it down, yeah, I would put Aldo ahead of him
yeah.
as
But
well.
it's also like what makes the greatest fighter of all time a record or what they did. I know Khabib.
Well, the record
Yeah,
is what
but
they
like
did.
as in like how they beat their opponents, what they did. Like it's like comparing Floyd Mayweather to Muhammad Ali. Like who's the greatest of all time in that sense.
Floyd
So
Mayweather.
based off record.
That's
Yeah,
what he
I mean
did.
I don't know.
His record is what he did, and what he did was never tasted a single defeat in his
Right.
professional career.
Or like what's with
Muhammad Ali got
I
knocked
mean, it
out.
happens when you're a heavyweight. I personally think when it comes down to being like the greatest of all time, and like we're talking boxing, like it's gonna be Ali or Tyson. But I don't give it.
Or
No,
Floyd.
I don't give it to Floyd.
I don't want it to
Yeah.
be Floyd.
I mean,
but
he's amazing
you
at
don't
what he
go
did for sure.
you don't go 50-0 without
Right.
being touched. Like the only person to really do anything to him was freaking
Right.
Ortiz.
So what do you mean like Julio Cesar Chavez, who lost one fight then went undefeated for like 60 fights?
I don't know
yeah,
enough.
like
I don't claim to be a boxing expert or
Right,
even
I'm
a
just-
fan. Really, I like
yeah.
boxing, but
I mean, we're going to be strictly. It's
I
like
don't know enough.
talking about who's like I had this conversation with somebody like about Michael Jordan. We were talking about the greatest basketball player of all time. He said LeBron. I was like, it's Jordan. He's like, why? I was like, because he has more rings. And he's like, oh, we're gonna go based off of rings. And he starts naming other players who have more rings than Michael Jordan. And so
no one has more rings than Michael
yeah,
Jackson.
nobody.
I assume.
Nobody has more number one hits as Michael Jackson either.
Or everyone has
Or
more.
I think, yeah,
'Cause he's
probably. I was gonna say I think Drake has more number one hits now.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
saw that recently. He
And
does.
so
Or no, he passed up the Beatles
Yeah.
for sure, but it may have been Michael Jackson.
yeah, he passed
as
them up
well.
at he passed them up at I think 19. I think that's what it was. So
Something
it's
like
it's something in the teens for sure. But
We're not here to talk
yeah,
about
no.
music.
Drake's doing all he can with the teens anyways, but we'll get it. It's a whole other thing.
Whoa.
Sorry, but I don't know, man. Like I understand.
Out of there, Millie Bobby
So
Brown.
I understand like the whole thing with Khabib 29-0. But even then I don't consider him the greatest of all time because of his record though.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
Like I don't consider Floyd Mayweather the greatest of all time because of his record either.
But Floyd, 25 of those fights are top
Yeah.
people. Like Khabib, 4 of them might have been.
Yeah.
Gagey, Dustin,
Michael Johnson. It was pretty much
Connor.
after the RDA fight. So this is I was thinking about this today. So everybody after, including RDA and beyond, he's fighting top tier challenge. He fought RDA, he fought Michael Johnson, then after that he went on to fight Iaquinta. So excuse that. And then after that he went on to fight Dustin Poirier, defended the title. He fought Connor, then he fought Gaethje, and then he retired. Those are obviously like pretty much almost everybody I named right there they were all at some point at the top. Even Michael Johnson, even
Yeah.
though like he's so super, I guess spotty when it comes down to fights, but
I wouldn't say he's a top
when
guy.
he fought Khabib, like he was fucking people up. It was like okay, like
I
yeah, at the
agree
time,
with that.
yeah.
But he still wasn't a top. Like Kevin Holland,
Yeah.
we're talking about him. He's a fan favorite, which is great, but he's
Yeah.
not a top guy. So it sucks to see him retire when he's not a top
Yeah.
guy. But I wouldn't say he's a top guy in the same way that I wouldn't say Michael Jackson's
He's not-
Michael Jackson. Dang it, I did it now too. Michael Johnson wasn't a top guy. But then you look at who Jose Aldo's fight
Yeah.
or fought.
that dude has
All top people.
Yeah, exactly.
All top people. Even when he had declined, or what a lot of people considered was his decline, he was still
Yeah.
fighting top people left
Yeah.
and right. So I do think that puts him over Khabib.
Yeah, I agree though. I do think he's over Khabib when it comes down to GOAT status. it's just when it comes down to it, like the guy has he never slowed down. Look, I mean, it's hard to say that with Khabib because he never slowed down either, really. But it's
Yeah.
like, um, Jose Aldo came into the UFC fighting nothing but top talent. He fought the 1 through 5 for years, and he still did up until he decided to call it a career. I think Marab was at number 6, but still though, like it was,
Yeah, I was gonna say top
yeah.
10
I
for
mean,
sure every
any
single
guy
time.
who's either on the come up or about to fight for the title or is fighting for the title, they had to go through Jose Aldo and they couldn't. You look at the guys who have beat Jose Aldo and look what they're doing now. Max Holloway, Volkanovski, who else? I mean, Conor McGregor. Yeah,
Me.
like I mean, look what you're doing now. So yeah,
Yeah.
take a break, dude. It's a hiatus. Fighters go on hiatus. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but yeah, like Pitorian beat him. It just the name list goes on of with the guys who were able to get past Jose Aldo, the greatness that they were able to achieve. I do feel,
Ultimate
yeah.
gatekeeper.
I mean,
Sad to put it that
but
way.
like I do think that like if eventually a challenge for Khabib is gonna roll around, and that's whenever he was like, I'm done. And that's if he decides to come, if he were to decide to come back, he's fighting Oliveira off the rip. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But what I do want to point out in Khabib's favor is when you have a guy as good as him and he spent his career fighting what we're saying is not
Right.
top people. When he was presented with the challenge, look what he
Exactly.
did to them. He did far better against them than he did
Nobody's
against
ever been able
lower
to do
ranked
that
people.
to Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, or Gagey, except
Yeah,
Oliver.
that's what
Oliveira.
makes it so
He did
hard
that to
though.
Dustin.
Like it's like, man, like Oliveira is literally like right there, cusp title shot whenever
Yeah.
it could be retired. And
So it's hard to say. Really, it's all going to fall down to opinion. I think that's going to be, and I don't think that people will see it this way because Aldo didn't have the belt recently in the UFC. He didn't retire with it anyway. Anderson and GSP. I think it would be pretty
yeah,
similar.
and it's kind of hard with Anderson because the whole steroids allegation too.
Yep. He had steroids. He lost a
Towards the
lot
end, yeah.
of rounds, not just fights,
Yeah.
but rounds. So if you break it down even more, anyway. So that's why I say GSP. But yeah, I think it's pretty similar when you're talking about how close they are in the argument for who's better on this made up GOAT
Yeah.
list.
It's such a hard one.
Khabib or
Yeah.
Aldo. Yeah, I would put Aldo ahead of him as well. Because Aldo stuck
Yeah.
around when things
Yeah.
got hard. Khabib
So
didn't.
speaking of sticking around, Yoel Romero is sticking around.
Yoel Romero is
Yeah.
sticking around over in
And
Bellator. He just knocked out Melvin
Yeah.
Manhoef. Insane ground and
Yeah.
pound strikes. Oh my
I
god,
didn't
that
get to see
elbow.
all the highlights of that fight, but I saw the knockout, and it's like, holy shit.
And if you don't know who Melvin is, that dude has been fighting for 27 years. Almost 30 years. He used to fight in
Yeah.
Pride. This dude has been around for so long, and he's still fighting the best
He's
of the
fought
best.
tons of people. He knocked out Mark Hunt. He fought Robbie Lawler. I mean, his resume is intense. Like,
Yeah, it's
you go
crazy.
through it, and it's like, who the hell haven't you fought, man? Like, but it was kind of one of those fights. So even though it was sad to see a fighter go out on a knockout loss like that, but the way that Melvin fights and the way that his fights typically go is someone's gonna get knocked out.
Yeah.
It was always a fun fight to watch. It was crazy that he never made it into the UFC. I don't know why he never made it into the UFC.
I think it was just contractual things, and because I know that he was with Bellator for
Yeah.
a little bit, and before Bellator, it was Strikeforce, and so I think it was just one of those things where he just was moving contracts in a way where he couldn't go to the UFC because the UFC wouldn't work with whatever contract he currently
Yeah.
had.
Well, also, anti-doping agencies also kind of messed it up for somebody like Melvin Manhoef.
Hey,
Whoa,
whoa,
sorry,
whoa,
dude.
whoa.
Fuck. Didn't mean to get into that, but yeah, man. Yoel Romero is in his mid-40s and he's still doing it. His last fight, he broke the dude's jaw in like the last 10 seconds of the third round. Third round Romero, dude, look into it. I swear to God, you'll see a fucking it's
real?
real, man. He is fucking people up. Third round, he just knows. Okay, yep, I got this shit, and did Tim Kennedy, did Luke Rockhold, Melvin Manhoof.
Nah, don't bring up that Kennedy thing.
Yeah, I know, man.
That was ridiculous.
Oh man, every time I see Tim Kennedy now, he's on the fucking Joe Rogan podcast a lot, and so
really,
yeah.
I know I've seen him on
yeah,
there. Like
he was on
once.
again recently. I shouldn't say a lot, like he's always fucking on there, but he was on there recently, and every time I see him, that's all I think of. I'm like, man, you really got screwed. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Even in Strike Force, that fight against his last fight against Luke Rockhold, all Luke Rockhold wanted to do was hold that fight up against the cage because he knew, and that's crazy to say, he knew that if he had to strike with Tim Kennedy,
Yeah,
he
or
would
actually
lose.
grapple off the cage with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Tim Kennedy, that man is something else.
One of the more underappreciated fighters, at least in my opinion. But yeah, something else that's happened recently was Gregory Rodriguez's cut.
Oh yeah, wait, what? Oh,
Gregory, not cut from the UFC. His cut on his face that opened up an artery. It didn't open up the artery. It opened up.
Yeah.
And you could see his artery.
That was like, I showed it to my dad, and he like looked the other ways. I can't look at that shit. Like,
how does the doctor looked at it? And how does he look at that and go, no,
he probably didn't pull the skin down. I was like, oh fuck, that's probably what it was.
Rub some dirt in it, you'll be all
just
right.
Get some Vaseline in there, it'll slip right off. Punches won't even land that well. Yeah, man, it was a nasty knee right up the mid.
He could have died.
Yeah, it was tough, man. Like, I remember watching that fight, and I was like, holy fuck, how's this guy still going? RoboCop, dude.
Yeah,
he's got a mission to complete, and he wasn't fucking around that night at all.
Well, is he RoboCop now, or is he going to be RoboCop? Because RoboCop died to become RoboCop.
He almost died to become RoboCop. Yeah, now he earned the nickname RoboCop. But I'm a big fan of Gregory Rodriguez. I remember watching some of his early fights in the UFC, and I was like, this guy's fun to watch. And Marquez fight was like definitely it. I was like, okay, I'll get behind this guy. And then this past fight, I was like, man, it was a hard one because I like Chidi Nkowanji, but I was close, right? It's in Njokani. And so, but I like Chidi Njokwani, but I just was pulling for Gregory for that one, but. Man, like it was shown. There's a reason why he's called Chitty Bang for a reason, though.
Dude, yeah, that fight was freaking fun. Very back and forth. In fact, like the cut that happened was on a knee, and I feel like if Chitty had just landed one clean shot after that, that could have been it. But he
as in like knocked out or killed him.
Potentially both. But he still would have won.
Dude, oh, man, that'd be so bad. Like, yeah,
it would, but it's happened.
Not in the UFC yet.
No.
But yeah, man, it was a tough cut, but it was like, I mean, it was a fun fight though. I thought he had a broken nose. I'm pretty sure he broke his nose, but
I don't think so. I mean, he could have. I don't know. I don't think so, but he could have.
I mean, I've never seen a.
I don't think so. His eyes weren't swollen when he had those stitches down. His eyes weren't swollen.
Yeah,
so
probably not. But it's one of the roughest cuts I've ever seen.
It was so bad. Because later that night, you had Song Yadong with the cut eyebrow, and I was like, dang, that's horrible. I wonder if that was as bad. Going back and looking at him, no, not even close. RoboCop was one of the worst cuts I've seen in a very long time. It was a
bad one, dude. And but yeah, so Corey Sandhagen, it's a good back and forth fight, but once he put it on him. Song Yadong was kind of like, okay, shit,
Yeah. Corey was like stepping it up each round, and Song Yadong wasn't keeping up, especially after that cut.
I mean, cuts like that just blind you. You don't know what to do. Song Yadong hasn't.
You got a little blood in your eye.
So Song Yadong hasn't been tested the way that Corey tested him either. But it was a big push for Song Yadong, but it was still just a fight that he needs to take a little step back, but he'll be back. I'm sure he'll be back. But it also showed how good Corey Sandhagen is, though.
Yeah. Speaking of fun fights, Raul Rosas Jr., 17-year-old, won his Dana White Contender Series fight and got signed to the UFC.
UFC fighter ever.
Yep. Which I think the next is Max Holloway. When he was 18, he got signed. But yeah, and look what Max Holloway's doing. So Raul Rosas Jr., man, his jiu-jitsu looked so freaking good. I wish we could have seen a little bit more striking, because what we did see looked pretty fun. But his jiu-jitsu looks like it's going to be a problem for the bantamweight
Yeah,
division.
because it's not only he mixes it really well with wrestling as well, but his transitions, his sweeps, I mean, is just nice, man.
Body
Body triangle.
all day, every day.
Yeah.
I will preach it till I die. Body triangle. I do not understand why you don't see it
Yeah.
more.
I mean,
I don't get it, and I know everyone says like, oh well, depends on the situation, the circumstances. I
you are in a
don't
stalemate
care.
and you
Do a
got his
body
back. I
triangle.
mean, if you can get it, get it. You know.
Yeah, it is superior to the hooks. Obviously, there are situations where it's the other way around, but generally, body triangle.
I mean, he almost got. I can't remember what the submission is called, where he's just like the hamstring stretch. Like he,
Pulling his leg up over his
he
head.
almost got one of those, and I was like, oh shit! But it was a fun match, dude. My so the only issue I have with a 17-year-old getting signed is just experience wise. I know he's undefeated and stuff, and he's fought some people, but it's just like I just don't want to see him get into the UFC too early. You know what I'm saying? And then like
I get you. I think that's the kind of fight that you want to have. We've talked about this with like Hayden and Carlos. You want to get those rounds in. You want to show that you're capable of doing it. And I think he showed he's capable of doing that and being dominant the whole time. And I feel like his pressure, his pace stayed pretty consistent the whole time too. So was he fighting someone on the level of, like a top 20 UFC bantamweight? No, but he's also 17.
Yeah,
give him a minute and he'll be there.
That's what gets kind of hard though, is because just like when it comes to the UFC, it's the best in the world. That's how they always portray it. But so it's like, are you gonna give him in his next fight somebody who's just we don't really know who it is and just wait to see where it goes? And it's like, if you want to build him up, why don't you put him in Fury? Give
him Chris Patino. Sign Chris back.
And so, but yeah, man, but I'm still happy for the dude. He was excited. I mean, he deserved it. He went out there.
Yeah.
I mean, his jiu-jitsu is something different. We in the bantamweight division, because we see a lot of great strikers and a lot of great wrestlers, but we don't really see a lot of just high level jiu-jitsu.
Not in the bantamweight division. Not to say that there is none.
I'm sure there's plenty.
You don't see as much of it. There's a lot of unorthodox striking in the bantamweight division.
And so he threw some very unorthodox strikes. So maybe he fits right in.
Put him against Adrian Yanez.
Book it.
Do it. Yeah, what else we got? Shoot.
I don't know.
Well, let us know if we missed anything. Put in the comments on YouTube or comment on a post on Instagram. Let us know something you find interesting that's going on in MMA right now. If you have local buddies who are fighting, let us know about them. We can start covering them or look into them. If you are looking for some fights to look forward to, Carlos Nava has a fight October 20th, and Hayden Bryars, Miles Banks. Oh man, that's a long list, especially from the War Training Center. Mia Graw. A lot of people are having fights on October 23rd with Fury. That's a very stacked card. I'm very excited for that. Something else. November 19th. There's a bunch of cards or a bunch of fights going on as well, and I'm blanking. Is
that the Poirier Chandler card? Is that the Adesanya versus?
I think that's one of them. Yeah. But Fury fights. I think there's some Fury fights going on. But yeah, let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you want us to talk about, and follow us.